Article 4 of the Outer Space Treaty declares states part of the treaty undertake not to place in orbit around the Earth any objects carrying nuclear weapons or any other kinds of weapons of mass destruction, install such weapons on celestial bodies, or station such weapons in outer space for any other manner, as well as states are not permitted to place military installations in space. Therefore, arming satellites with anti-missile capabilities would be weaponizing space, which directly violates the clause within Article 4 that declares space to be only used for peaceful purposes such as scientific study. Additionally, the article specifies that military installations are not prohibited, so anti-missile capabilities installed on the satellites are not allowed. The idea of ensuring space to be used only for peaceful purposes derived from the late 1950s to the 60s, when the Cold War was in its prime and Western powers were worried about their opponents militarizing space. That being said, numerous resolutions and clauses were passed by the UN to enforce peaceful interactions in space. When the Trump administration enacted Space Force, arming satellites with anti-missile capabilities in space to portray American dominance was considered. However, that would directly violate Article 4 of the Outer Space Treaty. Additionally, Article 3 further specifies that all actions in space must fall under international law, which requires peaceful interactions in states. Lastly, Article 9 explains the process that one state would have to pursue if another state was being considered to be posing a potential threat. Therefore, if the United States equipped the satellites with their defensive weapons, they would be directly undermining the purpose of this article. Given that Article 4 is interpreted that a state must act peacefully in space and not install any weapons of mass destruction in Earth orbit, then the Trump administration's decision to equip satellites with anti-missile capabilities through the Space Force leads to the conclusion that the U.S. falls in violation of Article 4 of the Outer Space Treaty. According to Article 4 of the Outer Space Treaty, nuclear weapons are not permitted in space. Anti-missile capabilities on satellites are not technically considered nuclear weapons, nor are they considered any weapon of mass destruction. Also, the article does not specifically mention that defensive weapons that take preventative measures to ensure peace are not permitted. Therefore, the U.S. is in compliance with Article 4 of the Outer Space Treaty. Although anti-missile capabilities installed on satellites may not be considered nuclear weapons nor weapons of mass destruction, Article 4 of the Outer Space Treaty specifies that space is intended only for peaceful purposes and cannot be militarized in any way, so placing such weapons in space is a form of militarization. Additionally, according to Article 3 of the Outer Space Treaty, any interactions in space fall under the mandate of international law, which state that all interactions must be peaceful, so there should be no attacks to take preventative measures from in the first place.